We are in a time where the war is changing, the terrain is changing, and the tools are changing.
AI is writing your code now. Do we even know what's in it? Developers don't build from scratch anymore. They pull from open source libraries, third-party components, and increasingly AI-generated code.
Generative AI tools have almost democratized the software development that anybody can do it now.
Most of it goes unchecked. Sonatype has been standing guard over that problem for over 2 decades. 15 million developers, 70% of the Fortune 100. And as AI writes more of the world's code, the stakes have never been higher.
Software has the potential to transform industries and organizations in the shortest amount of time possible.
We're at the RSAC conference. My name is William Salvi, and this is the CEO series, where we have real conversations with real CEOs. Let's go talk to Bhagwat. All right, we're with the CEO of Sonatype, Bhagwat Swaroop. Bhagwat, thank you so much for joining us. From the cybersecurity expert, I want to know what Sonatype is and what you guys do.
Sonatype means actually the gold standard. We are in the business of helping our customers build software in a secure way. The two parts of our business, one is really building tools which are used by developers in how they build software, and second is making sure that they can use open source in a secure and responsible way. And the point to underscore here today is 90% of all software is assembled, not written. So think about that for a moment. 90% of all software is coming from open source software, which is, again, free for people to use, but you want to make sure that it is free from vulnerabilities, there's no malicious components in there.
Free to be potentially attacked.
Free to be potentially attacked. There are licensing requirements, so organizations have to take the right amount of care in using that. And we make it seamless for our customers to do that.
And you've been the CEO since July.
I joined last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's it going?
Times. It's been going great. Yeah, like I always say, never waste a disruption, and we're living through one of the biggest one in the industry, which is really an exciting time for a company like us, which are, small, nimble company. We have roughly around 500 employees worldwide. We serve 2,500 enterprise customers in 75 countries. I feel like it's a perfect time for a company our size and scale to take advantage of AI to be able to disrupt some of the larger players, right? Because the velocity that we can now adopt with some of the tools and technologies is much faster than in the years past.
I love it when some of the CEOs I interview are like, we have a smaller company, it's 500 people, and I have a company with like 7 people.
It's all relative.
It's all relative.
It's all relative.
You're talking to the wrong people. You got to talk to more people like me, and you're like, we have a huge company. All right. So I'm interested because like the last 6 months, again, as like a business media consumer, there's a lot of chatter about software.
Right.
Is software dead?
Definitely not. As somebody who started out my career in development, and I worked in companies like Intel on the software and hardware side systems level, software has the potential to transform industries and organizations in the shortest amount of time possible, right? And that was the big leverage that has driven software industry growth and valuations to a certain level. Now, you could argue that in the last 6, 9, or 12 months, given AI, some of the valuations were out of whack or not. I can't comment on that. This is public markets. I think right now there is a little bit of overreaction for people to say, like, well, if I can build every single thing, then do I still am going to buy packaged software or software as a service? Right? Now, that immense capability to build any software you want with tools like Cloud Code or Cursor is very, very helpful. It's going to accelerate development. But imagine, like, you don't make a hammer at home just because you need one, right? You go buy that.
Right.
For some of those things are like easy to use things, people may deploy. But when it comes to things which require governance and compliance, and you really want to be sure that you're not taking any shortcuts, you want to buy those solutions from companies which have expertise in that area, right? So you don't get to grade your own homework. You don't get to create your own compliance software and then you say, hey, I'm fine, right? But I do think it's gonna disrupt the way software is being built. That disruption is definitely here for us to stay. But saying that software is dead, I think is a bit of hyperbole. I think our industry, like any other, is prone to that. And I think people are going to recognize that, yes, you do need software. What you expect from a software vendor is different, though.
How has the technology changed even since you've joined as CEO? It's probably advanced rapidly just in that time.
It has. And one of the qualities that I look for now, and especially in my leadership team and as we bring other people in the organization, is curiosity. right? Because there is an old adage that general fights the last war, but we are in a time where the war is changing, the terrain is changing, and the tools are changing. So you always got to be constantly adapt. Look, if I were to say 2 years ago, generative AI was a construct, now it's mainstream. And what that's allowing people to do is you don't necessarily need to know all the computing languages and syntax. It has turned a whole mass of people into what I like to call creators. Because developer has a certain connotation, you're a software engineer, you sit in a cubicle, you write code, but now everybody is creating, right? Whether you're creating an app, whether you're creating a better UX experience, UI experience. So the generative AI tools have almost democratized the software development, that anybody can do it now. Now, along...
Good or bad thing?
Yes, so I was going to come to that,
Yeah.
right? So the good thing is that I think more good than bad. I think it really opens up a whole new wave of productivity. People can build software way faster, 10, 100 times faster. The downside of that, again, let's go back to the same thing. The way software is being built has changed now. 90% of the software is still assembled, but who's assembling it right now? More agents are doing it without the human supervision. That's where the productivity boost is coming from. But you gotta give those agents some guardrails because they don't know what version to pick. So they are picking up versions from libraries, which could be, as we talked about, vulnerable or malicious and all of that. Also, we know that agents hallucinate. There was a report, DORA report from last year, which said 90% of DevOps engineers have adopted AI, but only 24% trust it. We call it the trust paradox. And then you go, well, these are smart people, why don't they trust it? Well, they know that agents hallucinates, LLMs hallucinates.
What's give
what
an
is a
example
hallucination?
For LLM, like what does that mean?
Yeah, so LLM is, large language model, it's optimized, and one is that you ask it a question, it could give you an answer which looks right on the surface, but it's completely made up.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
I've seen that myself.
Right, LLM likes to please you, so they make
Sorry,
up an answer.
ChatGPT, but
right.
yeah.
But LLMs will make up an answer.
Yeah.
It happens less and less, and all those foundational models try to minimize that, but it never goes to zero. In the context of application development, what it really means is that an LLM could make up a version of an open source library that does not exist. So if you go with picking up a version and take all the dependencies, what's really going to happen is your code is going to break every single time because that particular version does not exist. Now what gets even worse is that the bad guys also say, well, these LLMs hallucinate, they make up these fake libraries which don't exist, so bad guys go and then create those fake libraries with malicious content in it. So again, we are not saying that don't use coding assistant, we say use coding assistant with guardrails. And Sonatype provides one such guardrail with our agentic product called Sonatype Guide. What it really does is to say, well, LLMs are recommending these set of versions. We know these 3 versions have a certain set of issues. We would recommend using version X.Y instead of what's coming out of it. It's safer, it's compliant with your policy, meets your licensing requirements, and by the way, this version exists, right? And so that's one of the areas where I feel like is a huge opportunity for us to bridge the trust paradox. Because if trust is at 24%, adoption is 90%, people are not getting the full value out of the AI. Right? They're using it, but kind of barely using it, right? And from a decision maker's perspective, as a CEO, I like to look at, am I getting the ROI if I'm on the other side? And that's holding people back, right? And so to me, it's an important role that I feel we have a responsibility, not just towards our customer, but also in the industry to help the industry move forward.
What's the realistic goal, say in a year from now, the trust paradox, that percentage going up to what in a year?
I would say, I think the industry is making quite rapid advances in that. I would not be surprised if it moves north of 50%, right? Because the LLM, the hallucination itself, we have seen it go down from 28% to close to 8 to 10%. But the point is that unless the hallucination is zero, which will never be, you really need guardrails. That's where we kind of come in play to say, look, idea is not to restrict agents, but to give them guardrails so that they're making the right decision at the time.
Do you fear AI?
I don't.
You don't? You're more on the optimistic side.
I'm definitely on the optimistic
How
side.
How come?
Again, I've gone through different phases of technology evolution, and every time new technology. I mean, if you go back to the time of the medieval times of Galileo and others, but anything which was scientific, which was not understood, was considered magical. Right? And AI, I think, is unfortunately going through that. I think there is a lot of concern right now about could AI turn bad, and we have seen all of the sci-fi movies. Is that a possibility? I think the answer is yes. If we don't do anything about it, I think that version of future exists. But I think if enough people are proactively thinking about like how do we put right set of guardrails so the AI doesn't go rogue, and all of those areas, I think we're going to be fine. One thing we cannot be is complacent. I talked about all the benefits of how fast can you develop code, how fast can you build applications. You can go down the path of accelerating drug discovery and all of those things. Now I imagine the same set of tools are there in the hands of the bad guys, right? You look at all of those nations which have a grudge against our own country, right? Or bad guys who can quickly create a worm or a malware and pretty quickly kind of hijack a lot of that stuff. Quite a dramatic increase in malicious attacks as well. And that to me is something that we're going to see an increase. This is not a self-serving statement. This is really just the fact is that bad guys are going to leverage it too. I think this is where being vigilant, being proactive is super important. When people say, well, if AI can do things faster, you don't need as many people.
Right.
Well, that is true if we are living in a world where we have a finite set of ideas. I only had 3 ideas to do this year, and AI has helped me do in 6 months. What do I do for the next 6 months? Reality is we all have so many ideas that we want to progress and advance our business and imagine a different world. I think AI is going to unlock the next wave of opportunity for everybody involved. But that would also require people to learn new skills and do things differently. You cannot afford to sit on the sideline.
There's good actors, there's bad actors, there's companies like yours that try to prevent bad actors. Is there a way to like regulate it all so the bad actors don't even have because they're from nation states, sometimes they're individual actors, sometimes there's groups, like I'm sure they're primarily nation states still. But like, are there ways to like prevent bad actors and their tools from developing further to where, do you know what I'm asking?
I know.
Is there
I
like
kind of think what you're asking for, can we all live happily ever after?
That might be my question.
And that would be a good hope to have. Look, I think as long as there are two perverse incentives on the other side of the coin, I think there's always will be a game of the defenders and attackers, so to speak. And there are different reasons people do that. There are enough cybercrime attackers who are doing this just purely for the commercial reason, easy way out kind of a thing. And the nation state, I mean, there are regulations, there are governance models. Regulation always precedes or sort of like always comes behind
like
the need of the hour.
Yeah.
And so those are steps in the right direction. EU has regulations, United States has regulations around data privacy, and all of those. Those are necessary but not sufficient. In fact, in cybersecurity, one of the mantra we have is of zero trust, that assume you are breached. You should take all the necessary safeguards. And there are right regulations for the right reasons, but I don't think they are sufficient to protect everybody in all situations, right? And if there is somebody who is motivated, imagine in a large enterprise today, they're not using one application, they're using thousands of applications. Right. And those applications are completely distributed.
Yeah.
They're all distributed. And so this is where one of the initiatives is around software bill of materials, which is quite important in our industry in app dev, is you gotta know if you have thousands of applications, how secure are each of those applications? And this is where the construct of software supply chain security comes important, that each of those kind of links in the chain could be a vulnerability, right? And you have to make sure that it is patched up, it's not making your organization vulnerable today.
What are CTOs and developers getting wrong? I'm thinking of the Steve Ballmer developers quote.
Developers.
What are they getting wrong right now? What are they missing?
Development teams get energized by the capability they're building, by the innovation they're building, and security is an afterthought for almost a large part of the organization. Now you come into a world where you cannot afford to do that. You can't skip that. And I do think as an industry, we have to also change the approach, and this is where I think Sonatype pivoted the organization to, like, security is not an afterthought, security is embedded in your development process. And we want to make it invisible and seamless so the developer doesn't have to think about it. When your kid is learning how to ride a bike, like, you don't tell them that how the brakes are assembled. Brakes are there, you just got to use them. And with some of these other technologies which are coming out, you're providing this automated guardrail. I think there is a lot of excitement around using AI to build those technologies and all of that stuff. I think that's the right direction to go by, but you got to have guardrails.
I want to go to you, more so you as a person.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I grew up in Delhi, India.
Cool.
Now have spent more time in the United States, and more California is home for me.
Nice.
Delhi, if you look at the root of the word, is from Dil. Dil means heart, so we like to call it for people who are Delhi, from heart of India. So.
I love it. Were your family, were they entrepreneurs? How did you get into this world where you're like, I'm going to come to the States and I'm going to start learning? I'm going to become a
I grew up
developer.
in an environment which is valued education. My dad worked in the medical field, so he was not in technology. And when I came to the United States for my master's. And believe it or not, at that time, my research thesis was on self-learning neural networks, which is another way of saying AI today.
Yeah.
At that time, we did not use those terms. We did not use machine learning.
I'm not trying to date you, but when was that? Yeah.
That was mid-90s, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I've always been curious. So I've worked in different industries, and I was at Intel, I was at Symantec, I worked at McKinsey, and I think each experience has taught me different capabilities to leverage. One of the constant theme has been curiosity, clarity, and conviction. Those are the 3 C's that I live by, and it has been an interesting journey so far.
When you became CEO, how have you noticed your role shift with regards to, now I need to think about sales versus just developers or HR?
Right.
How has that changed your professional world where now you have to look at the business holistically?
Even prior to the CEO role, I had a president role in a few companies, so I had a larger part of sales and product reporting to me. But as a CEO, you have every organization reporting to you. I think there are 2 or 3 things come to mind. One is you're only as strong as a team. So this notion of that you can do individually something, you kind of have to devoid yourself from that. Because you can do this at certain times, there are times for that, but the more important than that, you have to have the right team and make sure that team is empowered. Second mantra that I kind of make sure is that I'm communicating effectively and efficiently and enough. And I used to do a lot of mountain climbing in my younger years, and I tell people that sometimes who you tied to, trusting that is more important than what you know or what they know, right? So are you communicating often enough to them? And I think then, look, there is the classic aspects of you're setting strategy for the company, and especially in a turbulent time like this, you always have to be very vigilant of, are you reading the tea leaves right? There are things that you validate the hypothesis in the market, and then making sure that we are setting, culture flows from the top, right? I think a lot about that. What if we are an organization optimized for speed rather than efficiency, how would we act? And what is the core ethos that drives us versus not? I want to make sure every single, not just our team members within the company, but every single customer who interacts with us walks away knowing the true values of Sonatype.
Have you noticed a loneliness with the role? A lot of CEOs tell me there's a heaviness.
Come on, I have a dog. Come on, I have a friend. No, it's there's definitely that, right? And I think it comes from the fact that there are topics and issues that you can't discuss openly with everybody, right? And so, but people always have people to go to and look
Right.
forward to. I kind of have my own personal board of advisors, as I call it, besides my board of directors. And there are other forums you do that too. I do think there is a bit of that, but like anything else, you always can find and build a set of community of people who are in a similar place as you. So you bounce ideas and all of that.
Definitely. You have roughly 500 employees globally. Yeah. Cybersecurity, you've been around many influential companies. What matters to you in the world, and what do you care about? What are you really passionate about? And I know it's cybersecurity,
sure,
but more so deeper than that, not just about that.
Yeah, look, I think my style of leadership is a servant style of leadership, is what I aspire to be. So I want to make sure that we are leaving the world in a better place than we found it, right? And so in our own view of things, I want to make sure that any work that we're doing is building a sustainable organization and helping advance humanity towards a better future. And whether it's in the cybersecurity, whether it's in computing, I personally get driven by that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ready for the fire round?
I am ready for the fire round.
Top 3 movies.
Is Top Gun, and the second one be Avatar.
Love Avatar.
And you're going to see a theme here, and the third one is Star Trek.
There you go. I love it. A little sci-fi.
Wrath of Khan. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see Dune?
I did.
What'd you think?
It's okay.
Yeah.
I think the book was better.
What are you doing on your last day on Earth?
Last day on Earth, I'm probably on a hike somewhere on a mountain with my kids and dogs.
That's nice. How many children do you have?
We have 2 kids. They're 9 and 19.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Boy, girl?
Both boys.
Nice.
The dynamic of having kids 10 years apart is that the younger ones keep you young. So I get on the soccer field with him.
Nice.
More than I would
Yeah.
have done otherwise.
Who's your best friend?
My wife.
Why?
As you're talking about, like, is lonely at the top, right? Who can you be completely honest and kind of like be with that person? And we've been married for 25 years.
If I could give you the ability to teleport
Yeah.
anywhere for vacation.
I haven't done a safari yet, so that would be on my list of places to
Yeah.
do. Otherwise, I've traveled quite a bit. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking with you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thanks for making it fun.
Thank you. Yeah.